Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the vertex in Sagittarius in a natal chart. Anyway, with this placement, first off, you may be encouraged, coaxed, cajoled, and persuaded by others to be more philosophical, expansive, optimistic, upbeat, exuberant, and see the more positive aspects or elements of things. Now, others may encourage you to further your education, if you haven't done so, to be less pessimistic and more optimistic regarding things. You may be required by others and at others' request, perhaps, and pulled to speak that veritable Sagittarius-like truth and not simply say things that others want to hear. This can be about being pulled toward being more adventurous and travel-minded. You may be pulled toward abstract thinking and simply thinking outside of the box, so to speak. You may be required to expand your horizons. You may also be drawn to something Sagittarius related, such as the law, the outdoors, exploration, philosophy, religion, publishing, traveling are some examples, even maybe being a pilot or cruise director, being a college professor, and even a translator or interpreter, because Sagittarius is connected with things, foreigners, and this could be a position possibly that others might encourage you to pursue. And anyway, and it could also be about having maybe being encouraged to do something sports related. And also it could be about also the encouragement can come as far as to not be vindictive or vengeful if you are, and to live in the now and not in the past, not to lament over past mistakes. I mean, say if you have this placement and you have like a Cancer, if you have a Cancer ascendant, well, it could be like a little bit difficult considering that Cancer is a sign. I mean, out and being Cancer ascendant would be like outwardly projecting a nature that might be living in the past and maybe lamenting over negative things of the past and brooding and thinking about things maybe others had done to them negatively in the past. And the Sagittarius vertex in Sag could be saying, hey, you don't need to be doing that. Of others' encouragement, not to be dwelling on the past and looking more at the future and the present. So anyway, well, another thing about this is you could be encouraged to be that incorrigible optimist. Despite how adverse circumstances may be for you, you may be pulled or drawn to be more jocular and humorous, and really being maybe more visionary and having and using vision and being very hopeful. And really, it's about rolling. I mean, you might be coaxed by others, persuaded to be more about rolling with the verbal punches, so to speak. And if you're not, and if you're, like I stated in good examples, if you have a Cancer ascendant and you have vertex in Sagittarius, well, Cancer ascendant is not just, sensitive to criticism and ridicule. They could also be victims of unintentional slights and things where somebody might be just saying something in jest and they could take it personally or into heart. And if you have the vertex in Sagittarius, it can make it difficult because it's really about going the other way and rolling with the verbal buzz and recognizing perhaps when someone's just being jocular and flippant and making a joke. And I think this would especially be true if you have, like, say, the vertex in Sagittarius. It's say you have it in conjunct a Cancer ascendant. So anyway, well, the thing is, it could also be about as far as possible repercussions of not following through on these vertex and Sagittarius like requests by others. This could be where you might have unfulfilled potential due to not expanding one's horizons and not going outside of the box, so to speak. There could be a sense of lack to just perhaps assimilating information that's superficial, or a lot of it based on hearsay and supposition. And also could be about maybe just having superficial understanding of something as opposed to having more profound understanding. And there might be a sense of lack for that if you don't follow up on what you might be encouraged to do, which is whatever is connected with the vertex in Sagittarius position. Now, it's also important to look at the house that the vertex in Sagittarius falls in, as this, of course, could impact the delineation. Now, generally, it will fall in either the 5th, the 6th, 7th, or 8th house in one's natal chart. Now, for example, if it's in the 5th house, one may be encouraged and persuaded to pursue something sports related that may be enjoyable and done with a lot of that Sagittarius like expansiveness, exuberance, and enthusiasm. We'll take another example. Let's say that somebody has the vertex in Sagittarius in the 7th house in a natal chart. Well, this could be about perhaps pursuing legal matters, in doing so if needed, in doing so by being very truthful, by being veracious, in doing so with a lot of Sagittarius like courage, even in that fearlessness and forthrightness, and perhaps even dealing with open adversaries in the same manner, by calling them out, using that Sagittarius veritable truth, and being able to, whether it be legal, say legally, confronting them, and doing so with a lot of that Sagittarius like exuberance, enthusiasm, and optimism. So anyway, also a thing to look at, this is about looking at this vertex in Sagittarius. Well, I think what one can look at, it's really important to look at the aspects that are made to the vertex in Sagittarius as well, because this, of course, could impact the delineation. Now, the thing about it is, I think a good example is what I stated before about having, like, say, if you have the vertex in Sagittarius making an inconjunct to a Cancer ascendant, where, vertex in Sagittarius could be about being really about looking at right now, the future, not dwelling or lamenting on past mistakes, being very optimistic, expansive, and upbeat. And the thing is, if you have a Cancer ascendant, it's almost like an adjustment if you have the vertex in Sagittarius making an inconjunct to it, because Cancer ascendant, is somewhat temperamental in as far as what's being projected outwardly, where vertex in Sagittarius, one might be encouraged by others to have more of a constant sunny, or I should say maybe more of a jocular and upbeat disposition, and being upbeat about things in general, where a Cancer ascendant may sometimes be upbeat, and then other times they might be somewhat despondent or melancholy, and then or irritated. And also the fact that Cancer ascendant is often apt to, as far as what they're projecting outwardly, more brooding and really lamenting about the past, living in the past more, where Sagittarius energy is more about right now and the future, and not thinking about negative things connected with the past. Or another example could be, let's say that somebody has the vertex in Sagittarius, and and they have a Taurus ascendant. Let's say it makes an inconjunct to one's Taurus ascendant. The thing about that is, and let's say it's in the 8th house and making the inconjunct to one's Taurus ascendant. Well, the vertex in Sagittarius is really, as I stated before, it could be about being very exuberant, optimistic, upbeat, and also expanding one's horizons, going outside the box, thinking in the abstract perhaps. And if you have it in the 8th house, this could be about, maybe this could be tied into making a major change in one's natal chart through the expansion of one's horizons, and really going outside of the box, so to speak, in order to make a major transformation in one's life. So, but if you have a Taurus ascendant, well, Taurus ascendant is more, about stagnant energy. It's not one that generally is going to be inclined to go outside of the box. They're very fixed in purpose. Taurus ascendant projects a very steady, consistent nature, and might even be seen as monotonous by others. Many of you may know I have a Taurus ascendant, and really Taurus is more about stability and keeping things the way they are, and because they have such an anathema and aversion to change. But if you have the vertex in Sagittarius, I think especially if it coming from the 8th house, say, and making that in conjunct to the Taurus ascendant, it could be very much harder for one to follow up on those vertex in Sagittarius things that others are encouraging the person to do, because it's not where, because vertex in Sagittarius could be about going outside the box, thinking in the abstract, and broadening one's horizon, even doing things connected with adventure and taking long distance journeys. And Taurus rising, generally it can be very reluctant to do so, even taking long distance trips. I have Taurus rising, as I stated before, I haven't been out of the country ever in my life. So anyway, it's also important to look at in the chart to see if there's any there's contraindicators or things that may reaffirm this position. If you have, like, say, a chart, say, that has preponderance of planets, that are below the horizon, and that suggests a more pessimistic nature and more introverted, it could be harder to do the things that are associated with the vertex and Sagittarius placement, because people may be encouraging you to be more upbeat and optimistic as opposed to negative. But if you have, say, a preponderance, say, of planets above the horizon, and you have the majority of your astrological energy in masculine signs, it's easier more to go with that energy. And if you have, say, a strong Sagittarius element in your chart, those could be examples where you could go with this flow, so to speak, and be able to be compliant with what others are encouraging you to do in connection with the vertex and Sagittarius energy. And anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for the vertex in Sagittarius in a natal chart. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be talking about the vertex in Capricorn in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of the person astrologically speaking based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.